So I take the necklace off and I give it to Swami, and he holds it in his hand. And he goes like this, and his sleeve falls down, so his arm is exposed. And slowly, slowly, he goes, and he breathes on this necklace 3 times, and pop, out of the air drops another necklace. He holds the thing, and a ring flies out of his hand, leaps out of his hand, and falls at my husband Bruce's feet.
Sairam, dear listeners, welcome to Sai SOUL 100. Our guest today is Sister Leslie Bouche, who's joining us from Ojai, California, who lived in New York for a very long time. Sairam, Sister Leslie, thank you for joining Sai SOUL 100.
Sairam, Prabha, thank you so much for inviting me to take part in this wonderful program.
Thank you. Please share your story.
Well, let me first say that my life has always been his plan. I'm old enough now to really have that perspective and to recognize that this tapestry of what it looks like, we think that we're doing our lives and we're making decisions and choices and all that, when it's always been Swami's hand. I have learned that when I hand everything over to Swami, that I can relax and I can focus instead on being in integrity with myself and, really trying to follow Swami's teachings and to be who he wants us to be. I was raised in a very loving family, but I was raised as an atheist. And so I really wasn't a seeker. And so it's really very interesting. When I say that this has been Swami's plan, I mean, I really mean it right from the very beginning. In 1971, I was sent that old LP record of Swami's discourse, and on the other side were bhajans. And, I listened to it. And it was interesting. I was at university in Wisconsin at the time, and there was something in the bhajans that so impacted me. I had no idea what any of it was about. I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand any of it. This whole sense of having a guru and all this kind of stuff. It's like very, very not what I was used to. And but there was this instantaneous connection with the sound of the bhajans. It was like the echo of a memory in my heart. And I found myself um, walking around campus in my mind and actually out loud. I'm singing Narayana, Narayana, Om Satya. I had no idea what it was, but I sang that constantly. It was very funny. In 1972, I was brought by my first husband to Indra Devi's Yoga Institute in Tecate, Mexico. And, all of this was still like unknown to me. But she had a little puja room that had a huge picture of Swami, and all around were pictures and images of every possible aspect of divinity. Now, remember, I was raised as an atheist. I actually had trouble saying the word God. I would like trip over. It was all, I had no language for any of that. So I'm in Indra Devi's little puja room by myself, and the energy of love, of Swami's love, was so intense that it was like being hit by a 2x4. I ended up on my face, on the floor, crying, and I had a major heart opening. And it was like becoming a side devotee in 15 seconds. And I really still, my mind didn't know, you know, what to do with it all, but my heart knew. This is what I want. This is where we're going. By 1973, I found myself in Darshan at Swami's feet in India, in Whitefield. And my life had taken a completely different track and no looking back. That was a long time ago. And so there have been lots and lots of experiences. Most of my relationship with Swami, most of my experiences really have been on the inner. It's been the inner relationship. But I did have several direct experiences with him. In 1979, my first husband and I, Swami called us in for an interview. And we were around a lot, but we were just after, that group of all of our friends who were around, physically around Swami so much. Those days were over. We were just, regular devotees, and there were more and more people coming around. So it was really quite significant when Swami called us in 1979, and he dramatically changed my life once again by telling us to have two children. And I knew right from the beginning that these were his children. He had these souls. He needed a devotee family. Here, you take care of them. Your job. You raise them in Sai's teachings. And it was just incredible. I felt again this enormous heart opening. It's been a wonderful, wonderful journey, um, raising these two boys for Swami, and they've become such wonderful men. Life goes on, Swami says, life is the best teacher. And, as the years unfolded, I followed the inner path. I took Swami's teachings very, very much to heart. I was an SSE teacher. We hosted the Sai Center at our home for a number of years. Um, but then life goes on, life changes. By the end of the 1990s, I my first marriage had ended, and it was a very, very interesting time. And it was a time when I really, really learned in a very essential way how to lean on Swami. And I say that because there was a wonderful quote that he said that we have to learn to have complete and total confidence in him, that confidence in his guidance, confidence in his love, and that he's with us all the time. And he said, just as you lean against the wall, knowing that it will not collapse, lean on me. And that's really what I did. In 2002, I was match made with my husband, Bruce. We had known each other decades before, just as acquaintances in the old Hollywood Science Center. And we both had long first marriages. And we came together. We knew that Swami had brought us together. And our whole relationship was really centered around our love for Swami and our commitment to the spiritual path and to living very dharmically, And so Bruce had asked me to marry him. And, you know, we were already, I think I was already like 52. So this is a very different kind of coming together. And Bruce had asked me to marry him, and I, of course, had said yes. And so we traveled to India together, just to have Swami's darshan. And interestingly, we had ordered wedding rings, and they came a whole month early, which is unheard of. And so we said, "Oh, great, we'll take him with us." And Bruce said, "I'll just have him there in darshan in Swami's presence, and they'll soak up all the good vibes, and that'll be wonderful." And we were going to India just to say thank you to Swami. As it turned out, and we could only be there for 5 days. So the third day, um, just through the regular lottery system, just through the chit lines. We both ended up by chance, in front row. Bruce on the men's side, me on the ladies' side. And that was just wonderful because we figured we'd have beautiful close darshan. Swami came in on the ladies' side and just staring at me, smiling, came the whole way in, looking at me, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm just talking to Swami inside because I always talk to Swami inside and had for, you know, decades already then. Just saying, thank you, I love you, thank you. And I couldn't believe it. He's like, all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, he's coming over to me. And, um, he said, go inside. And I was so shocked because it had been 20 something years since my previous interview. It was not something that I was focused on. It was certainly not anything I was used to. And it was nothing that I expected. And, I had this funny reaction. I said, I went like this. And everybody around me started laughing. It was so funny. And then Swami moves a few feet on and then he turns around. And this was typical of the kind of interaction and the kind of relationship that he turns and he says over his shoulder to me, he says, are you happy now? I said, oh yes, Swami. So we went in the outer room. He asked me, what religion are you? Which, of course, being raised as an atheist was a completely loaded question. And oh, well, Swami, I'm a devotee of God. I'm your devotee. And so he goes like this and manifests a cross, a big gold cross with 11 diamonds on it, on a chain. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. I'm thinking, is that because Bruce was raised as a Catholic or, why is Swami making me a cross? And it was very beautiful. And Swami put it on me himself. Swami called us into the private interview room, called me and Bruce in. And Bruce had our wedding rings kind of just clutched in his hand. You know how you hold something in your hand, you don't even remember you're holding it. Not a word had been said about anything about marriage or anything like that. And as Swami's ushering us into the room, he's standing next to Bruce and he takes his hand and he palms the rings out of Bruce's hand without a word, right? Not a word is being said about any of this. And I didn't even know that it was happening. This is going on between Bruce and Swami. And, and it was so funny again as we're walking across the room when Swami's on his way over to his chair. Swami again does this over the shoulder thing to me and says, so how is he? I just started laughing like, oh, Swami is wonderful. Like clearly he had sent me this wonderful man as this gift, for to be a life partner. I mean, it was so beautiful. So we sat down at Swami's feet, and Swami now has these wedding rings. And again, he's not asking us anything. He's not saying, "Are you getting married?" Anything like that. He just starts playing with the rings, playing with them, turning over, opening his hands and looking at them. And then at one point he blew on them, you know. And then he opens his hands and he says, marriage. And then he gives us each our rings to put on. And we looked at each other and we realized Swami had just married us. And the wonderful thing is that for a month or more before we went to India, we had been talking about how, should we do this like wedding and invite all this family? And we kept trying to figure out, oh my God, it's going to end up like 100 people. And we were both so clear. remember saying to Bruce so clearly, all I want is that our marriage is dedicated to Swami, and that's all we want and need is his presence. And that's exactly what happened. And he did say, he said, I will see you before you go. We were leaving in 2 days, and we figured, okay, well, who knows what that means before we go, before we leave our bodies in this life or next lifetime. So here we are for 2 days after this just amazing, wonderful, fun, loving, incredible experience with Swami. And I'm wearing this cross, and I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. There's got to be a story here. This must all be about something. And we just had that feeling. And so for 2 days, I was just talking to Swami, talking inside as I always do, constantly. He's my constant presence and friend, and talking to his picture. I didn't write any letters. We were once again, as always, sitting in darshan in the back 40. There was no interaction, no close interaction. But what I was saying to Swami is, thank you so much. The necklace is so beautiful. But I'm not a Christian. So, if you do call us in again, this is just the way I talk to Swami. If you do call us in again, maybe you could change the necklace to, I would love a picture of you. And, while you're at it, maybe you can make something for Bruce too, so that he doesn't feel like I'm the only one who got something. This is just, he's my best friend. I have always felt more and more and more over the years, over the decades, that I really don't know. I mean, where do I end and Swami begins, or vice versa? So, you know, um, he is my best friend. So I speak to him as my best friend and confidant. Um, so the morning we were leaving, which is just a couple of days later, we did end up in the front row again. And Swami called us in again. There was an Indian dignitary and his wife and his entourage. And I think there was another couple also. And the first thing Swami did in the um, outer interview room, it was interesting. Clearly, this dignitary, his wife was a devotee. That you could tell right away. But he's sitting over there in a chair, opposite Swami, in a chair like this. Okay. So, I mean, we're getting this picture immediately that, this is interesting. Swami made a beautiful necklace for the gentleman's wife. And since Swami was in total formal mode, he asked me to put the necklace on her, which just being able to do that for Swami was like so lovely. So then after that went on, Swami was still standing, and he goes and he sits down in his chair. And the way I always like to describe it, because it's just what it looked like to me, was in kind of I call it like a Yiddish gesture. He goes and he sits down in his chair and he looks at me and he says, Father is Jewish. You don't like the necklace? And I said, oh, Swami, well, it's so beautiful. Um, you know, but I'm not a Christian, and it would be hard for me, to explain this to my father. So he says, okay, give it here. So I take the necklace off and I give it to Swami, and he holds it in his hand. Now, when Swami would manifest things and do stuff, it was always pretty fast, right? He moved fast. No, he was in slow mode. He goes like this. He turns sideways so that, that gentleman's over there watching this way. And he goes like this, and his sleeve falls down, so his arm is exposed. And slowly, slowly, he goes, and he breathes on this necklace 3 times, and pop, out of the air drops another necklace. He holds the thing, and a ring flies out of his hand, leaps out of his hand, and falls at my husband Bruce's feet. And it was so funny because we just knew that this whole thing was this wonderful woven tapestry of events where Swami created this just that involved all of us. It was all for all of us. It was all his play, all his play. So Bruce picked up the ring and started to hand it to Swami, and Swami said, "No, no, this is for you." Swami took the ring and he put it on Bruce's finger. It was a green diamond ring. And then he handed the new necklace to Bruce to put on me as a Mangala Sutra. And it is a picture of Swami. So he gave me exactly what I asked him for, a picture for him, of him, a ring for Bruce, and he outwardly, verbally, so lovingly honored my parents. I mean, you know, just it was just such an incredible experience. Just watching Swami be who he is. It was just incredible. It was incredible. So then Swami called us Bruce and me into the inner interview room. And I mean, it was so much happened that was so beautiful and perfect. And he also did some things like where we knew that he was talking about our whole future. There were some things where he played with Bruce's beard, that all of that unfolded into a long journey with throat cancer and things like that. He stops at one point and he points to my leg and says, "How's your leg?" And at that point, it was perfectly fine. Now I can sit here after a total knee replacement and say, "Oh yeah, he saw that one coming." Um, all of these things was all in this interview. And then towards the end of our personal time with him, in the small interview room, Swami was sitting there in his chair, and that wonderful familiar pose like this. He was sitting there, and he was clearly off doing something else. And we're just sitting at his feet, and I'm looking up at Swami, and this went on for, a couple of minutes. Looking up at Swami, and I noticed there was a little tiny piece of white lint in the front of his hair. And I had a passing thought that went through my mind. I'd love to take the lint out of Swami's hair, right? And then I'm looking at Swami's feet. I'm thinking about other things. Swami's like this. He opens his eyes and looks at Bruce and says, "She's thinking about my hair." And I go, "Oh, yes, Swami, you have a little tiny piece of lint in your hair, right?" And so he goes like this. He just so graciously, lovingly leans forward like this and says, "Take." So, of course, I did. I took the lint out. But I knew, and I have known, it goes deeper, deeper, deeper as the years go on, that what that really means. Um, he offers himself to us. I mean, that's what he does. He offers everything. Take. But it's our job, it's our responsibility to come forward and to take what he brings us, what he gives and offers. So that, was just an incredible time, and um, remembering all of that, just the love goes deeper and deeper and deeper over the years. And yeah, it was a very special time. There's so many other stories, but there was something really interesting and wonderful that happened after Swami left his body. So I'm guessing it was about 2014 or something like that. And it was, here in California. I was at a celebration at the Sai Center here in Ojai. And it was probably birthday, something like that, because we were all squeezed in and sitting on cushions, you know, um, back when I could still get down on a cushion and back up again. But anyway, it was one of those days, you know how you go through periods of time sometimes when you just, fall into a lot of self-doubt and, a lot of questioning. And I was in just one of those spaces for a couple of days where I was saying, "Oh, Swami, am I being who you want me to be? And am I, you know, being in integrity with myself?" I was just, for some reason or other, just down in some self-doubt place, which is not usual for me. I'm a pretty up person. Um, and bhajans were beautiful. It was really lovely. And after bhajans, we stood up for arati. And you know how when you go to sit back down, you kind of look so you can aim right for your cushion. So I turned around and I looked, and there in the middle of my cushion, where I had been sitting for hours, was a packet of vibhuti that had not been there before. And on it was a label that said, "Your life is my message, Sri Satya Sai." It was pretty amazing. I asked everyone around me, everyone there, "Is this yours? Did you drop this? Where did this come from?" No one had ever seen it before. It just manifested on the cushion. And what was so wonderful was it had always been intensely important to me when Swami went from saying, "My life is my message," to "Your lives are my message." I always took that very, very much to heart. That was always important to me, still is incredibly important to me. So to get this message that says, "Your life is my message," Sri Satya Sai, was incredible. So he is with us. I mean, Sai, see always inside, you know. He's completely and totally with us. He offers, it's up to us to take. You know how Swami always said, "Take one step towards me and I'll take 100 towards you."
Sairam, Sister Leslie, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful journey of yours, beginning all the way back in 1971 on a random,
A record, an LP.
yes, random record for you to be able to listen to Swami's discourse and then bhajans. Internally you started singing it, although you didn't know what it was. And then in 19 and see how in such a short time so many things happened, right? 1972 you meet Indra Devi, and then 1973 you end up in Bhakti seeing Swami for the first time, right? And then having that interview, Swami saying it's time for you to have two children and blessing you with two wonderful children. All of that happened in such a short time, right? And then I love when you started with saying that my life has always been his plan. It's so, and like you said, you lived long enough to hindsight look back and look at the journey that he has taken you through for this many years, which is why you can say that his life, my life has always been his plan, right? And I just love the fact that when you were in Indra Devi's puja room, you said echo of memory in your heart. Something just hit you and something just came back, right? And that needed to happen for you to go to Parthi and then to see Swami. Because
Right.
without that, awakening, going to see Swami, you would not have probably gotten what you got out of it as a result of having that experience beforehand. Fast forwarding many years, your journey with Bruce to go and see Swami, taking the ring. All you said, or what you said was you just wanted to go and express your gratitude.
Absolutely.
That's all it was.
That's
But
all it was.
and it ended up being much, much more than that, right? And Swami not only performed your wedding by doing his wonderful blessings to your rings and then for you to get married, but then yeah, he brings you back, takes the chain that he has given you. And you mentioned that, it's all his play. He took into account what your parents would be feeling with that cross, took into account how you want to embrace Swami's chain, heard your voice, that Bruce would also be nice for Bruce to also have something. But all of that, how he orchestrated it for it to happen in front of that gentleman. I mean,
Okay.
were you supposed to receive that cross 2 days before and then for you to have this internal conversation with him? All of this, ultimately, you get what you wished for and beyond that, actually. And then this
Yeah.
gentleman sitting from in the chair watching, I would like to know what he was thinking, So it's a play in many, many, many folds.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the cute, cute thing of lint, even in that lint, there's a powerful message,
Everything.
right? And you see the lint, he reads your thoughts, he's thinking about my hair, and he leans forward and says, take. And you genuinely, rightly, I believe, feel that it wasn't just the lint that you were taking, right? It was a lot more. It's really not, it's not even about the lint.
No,
And
not at all. Not at
yeah,
all.
and all you do is he offers, and it is up to us to take. And very, very grateful for these insights using the experiences with Swami. And it's such a blessing for us to hear it and to take away the messages as well. It's not just a story that belongs to you. There's so many messages that we can take away from it. So thank you for sharing those. Thank you so much, Sister Leslie, for being here at Sai Soul 100.
Sairam.
Sairam, dear listeners, thank you for listening to Sai Soul 100 with Sister Leslie Bouche. I'm Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sairam.